the first step is for us to accept. And so Ghana wants to move a motion in the UN asking the world to recognize the slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity. And so we'll continue to push on.
Today, 25th of March, is the International Day of Remembrance for the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. And if you've been following the news, then you'll be aware that John Mahama, the president of Ghana, is currently in New York, and he'll be tabling this draft resolution that, when adopted, would declare the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. People are applauding him for taking such a brave, bold step, actually. But the thing is this, the AU, that is Africa Union, actually appointed Ghana as the champion of reparations. So it's not like Ghana is obnoxiously doing it alone. Ghana is doing it in collaboration with the AU and also in collaboration with the Caribbean Community and Common Markets, and also with other groups. But this whole issue of reparation has taken over the conversation and has stirred up anger among some Black Americans.
Ghanaian President Mahama is trying to come over here to the United States of America and lay his voodoo wreath, his voodoo African wreath, on the gravesite of Black Americans in the United States of America to destiny swap with Black Americans. Now we have to stop this. This is taking place March 24th, 2026 in New York. I'm going to give you the information. Now, you know, the Africans have been in cahoots with a lot of different people trying to disenfranchise Black Americans with the United Nations. Black Americans did not give consent to this. First of all,
to be honest, the President and the Minister for Foreign Affairs have a lot of work to do, because there are a lot of uneducated opinions on social media about this whole thing. Before I continue, please do not forget to like this video, and please go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. If you are watching me on YouTube right now, please subscribe to the channel, and also go to Facebook, follow my Facebook page. And they have this weird belief that Ghana is in the US trying to get what belongs to the foundational Black Americans. They call themselves foundational Black Americans. There's a whole lot of hatred, a whole lot of dissentiment for Black immigrants by Black Americans in America. I don't know if Ghana is aware of this whole thing between some Black Americans and some Black immigrants in America. They do not even understand what this whole draft resolution is about, and they think that it is just all about the Black people who are in America. Some of them are behaving like they are not aware that there are other Black people in South America. They organized a protest against Ghana, and even though there were just a handful of people, but it's quite disturbing, because you can see that the other people would just sit back and be laughing like, yeah, look at them. They are even fighting among themselves. So how are you going to come up with a united front against us? According to them, our ancestors are those who sold their ancestors into slavery, which is not exactly the case. Ghana has different ethnic groups, and it is not every ethnic group that engage in slave trade. The majority of ethnic groups in Ghana were also victims, and John Mahama and Ghana has the right to table that to UN. Ghana is not trying to take anything from Black Americans.
As an American man, I'm going to tell you right now, the majority of the people that were put in bondage here on this land were from North America. I'm not saying that the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen. I'm not saying that there weren't certain Africans that came over here.
When you listen to these sort of comments, then begin to understand why some of them decided to take the position of foundational Black American, and also what some people call the pretendians. You see, it's just about the anger that they have of who they really are, and also the shame that they feel to associate themselves with Africa.
The Africans that came over here got absorbed by the people that were already here, and that's how that goes, point blank period. And we do not want other nations getting credit for stuff that we immediately went through.
I agree with them to some extent, especially with regards to the reparation, but this is the first step that is being taken. It's not like the draft resolution has been adopted yet or something like that, or that they have started paying reparations. No, that is not the case. But the issue of who or where reparations goes to is already stirring up anger, and some of them are going as far as calling out Africans as trying to have a destiny swap with Black Americans, you can see clearly that some of them do not even know that there are Black people in South America. There's a huge Black population in South America, but usually when things like this come up, they just start thinking about themselves, and the issue of them being so ashamed of Africa and not wanting to associate themselves with Africa or Africans and things like that is causing a lot of trouble. But this issue of reparations, well, I don't know why some of them think that every African right now is a descendant of people who sold their ancestors into slavery. I think we all need to educate ourselves, but the thing is this: in Ghana, there are several ethnic groups, there are several languages. In Africa, in West Africa, there are several ethnic groups, different groups of people. It is not the case that all those that are in Africa right now are descendants of people who sold people into slavery. Because some of us, the reason why some of us are still alive in Africa is simply because our direct ancestors were not captured. Our ancestors did not have access to the gun market, which they would have used to protect themselves. They were using bows and arrows and their physical strength. That would not have competed or fought well with guns. The people that were engaged in the slave trade tightly guarded the gun market, preventing our ancestors from getting them to buy and protect themselves. So our ancestors were also victims. We do acknowledge the fact that those that were carried across the transatlantic ocean who survived went through a lot of suffering, went through a lot of struggle and all that, but we also went through something. Our resources were taken away from us. We went through a lot also. So when our leaders come out and say that we were also victims and that if there should be an apology, we should also receive an apology, you cannot say that we don't deserve it. In fact, we also deserve it.
I can't see any reason why an African president would be in fucking New York other than the work of men, damn it. That's the only reason why he's there, okay? This transnational game that they're playing only gonna spell bad news for Black Americans.
We know that there are some ethnic groups that took part in the transatlantic slave trade, but for me in particular, from northern Ghana, if you do your research very well, you can see that my ancestors suffered a lot. I think that the draft resolution is trying to achieve is to have a formal apology from colonial masters. Well, I look at this draft resolution that they are trying to table at the UN to be a very difficult thing, and the things that they are calling for are going to be very difficult to achieve. The reparation issue, the apology and all that, and even considering what implications that would have with other issues like relics that were taken from Egypt and sent to museums in Europe, relics that were taken from Benin City in Nigeria, relics that were taken from the Ashanti in Ghana, relics that were taken from different parts of Africa and taken abroad. I wonder what progress we would really have from that. On top of apology, we would also need to have apology from ethnic groups that took part in the slave trade. Maybe getting an apology from ethnic groups that did that may be easy, but getting an apology from the white people would be quite a struggle. And they are sitting elsewhere and they are laughing at us because a fight has already started. You have these Black Americans saying that we are trying to have a destiny swap with them and we are trying to benefit from what their forefathers have struggled so hard for and all. It is now that the document is going to be presented to the UN, and there is a call for meaningful engagement. I don't know what these people that are making the videos and complaining understand by meaningful engagement. The Black people are not only in USA. Brazil has a huge population of people with African heritage. Cuba, Haiti, Colombia, and many other countries have people who are descendants of slaves that were taken from Africa, especially from the western side of Africa, and taken over there. So when we are talking of things like this, we are not just talking about the USA. This is not another attempt to shake the table of foundational Black Americans. So as much as this is a very difficult thing to talk about, let's at least take a chill. Let's also try to research. Some of us, our people, our ancestors lived in fear, constantly running here and there to save their lives. I, for instance, am alive in Ghana because my direct ancestors were not captured. So we are also victims. John Mahama has the right to table that draft resolution. Please, if you are not following me, please follow, comment, like, and share. I'm on YouTube. If you are watching me on TikTok or Facebook, please go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. It's Steve Wesono on YouTube.